Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. Tonight, we are drifting into the quiet, intriguing, and often mysterious world of feelings. Feelings shape how the world looks, how time seems to move, and how memories settle into place. They rise in the body before words appear. They guide decisions, steer relationships, and quietly influence what feels safe, meaningful, or worth pursuing. Emotions are not just moods that come and go. They are living signals, woven through your nervous system, your history, and your expectations of what might come next. They can sharpen attention or soften it. They can pull you toward connection or urge you to protect what matters most. As we explore them together, you may notice familiar experiences taking on new depth. Ordinary reactions may begin to feel layered and alive with hidden structure. This is a journey through the science beneath what you feel and the wonder inside how it all works. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, let your shoulders soften and allow your breathing to slow. And let the day fade away and your mind unwind as we explore this fascinating inner world together. Let's begin. The feeling of awe makes the self feel smaller and the world feel larger. Awe often arrives when your mind meets something vast. It might be the night sky, a cathedral ceiling, a towering mountain, or a piece of music that feels too big for words. In that moment, your usual self-concerns can shrink. Your worries do not vanish, but they lose their grip for a while. Many people describe a sense of being part of something wider, as if the borders of the self loosen. This feeling can change how you think. When the world seems larger, your brain becomes more open to new ideas and new perspectives. Awe can also pull people toward generosity. When you feel connected to something bigger, helping others can feel more natural. Awe is not only for grand vacations. It can happen in small ways, like watching a child learn or seeing a complicated idea suddenly make sense. It is one of the few emotions that can make time feel spacious. You are still you, but you are not only you. Small daily joys compound, shaping well-being more than rare peaks. Big moments are bright, but they are not most of life. Most of life is ordinary hours, and your nervous system learns from what happens repeatedly. A daily walk, a friendly greeting, a cup of tea, a song in the kitchen. These small joys can seem too simple to matter, yet they accumulate like tiny deposits. They create a baseline of safety and pleasure that makes stress easier to carry. They also train attention. If you practice noticing small good moments, your brain becomes faster at finding them. That is not forced positivity. It is skill. Small joys are also reliable. You do not need a vacation to have them. You can build them into routines, so they show up even in difficult seasons. Over time, these moments shape identity. You become someone who knows how to return to yourself. Rare peaks are wonderful, but they can leave you waiting. Daily joys keep you living. They make well-being less dependent on luck and more dependent on practice. Therapy often works by making feelings speakable and specific. A feeling that stays vague can feel endless. It becomes a fog you live inside. Therapy often begins by turning fog into shape. When you describe what you feel, when it started, and what it resembles, you begin to make it speakable. That matters because the brain regulates better when it can categorize experience. Specificity also separates layers. You might think you are angry, then discover you are hurt, disappointed, and afraid of being unimportant. Once those layers are named, the problem changes. You can respond to each layer with a different tool. Therapy can also offer a new kind of witness. Being heard without being judged can reduce shame, which makes the nervous system less defensive. Different therapies use different methods, but many share this aim. They help you notice patterns, connect feelings to needs, and practice new responses in a safe space. The result is a life where emotions become messages you can understand, rather than storms you must endure alone. Boredom can be useful. It pushes you toward change. Boredom is often treated like an enemy, but it is also a signal. It tells you that your attention is hungry, and what you are doing is no longer feeding it. When boredom appears, the brain begins searching for novelty, meaning, or challenge. That search can lead to creativity. It can also lead to trouble if the easiest novelty is risky. The feeling itself has a restless flavor. That discomfort is the point. It pushes you away from autopilot. If you listen closely, boredom can reveal what you care about. Are you bored because there is no purpose here, or because you are avoiding something that matters? In learning, boredom can be a hint that the task is too easy or too hard. Adjust the difficulty and the boredom often fades. Boredom is not proof you are lazy. It can be your mind asking for a better fit between effort and meaning. Journaling can reduce distress by organizing inner chaos into words. When thoughts circle in your head, they can feel like a swarm. Journaling can act like a net. You catch the thoughts and place them on paper, where they stop buzzing so loudly. Writing forces the brain to choose a sequence. It must decide what happened first, what mattered most, and what you believe about it. That sequencing can reduce overwhelm, because the mind is no longer holding everything at once. Journaling can also reveal patterns that were invisible. You might notice that your anxiety rises at night, or that certain people leave you drained, or that certain choices consistently bring relief. Once you see the pattern, you can change it. Writing can also create distance. A fear written down becomes an object you can examine, not a fog you must breathe. Some people write letters they never send. Some write lists. Some write one honest paragraph. The method matters less than the act. You are turning sensation into meaning, and meaning into direction. Placebo relief is real, because expectation changes brain processing. You can take a pill with no active drug and still feel your pain ease. That sounds like trickery until you remember what the brain does all day. It predicts what will happen next, then it adjusts perception to match those predictions. If you strongly expect relief, the brain can dial down pain signals and dial up comfort signals. It can even release your own internal painkillers. The ritual matters too. A white coat, a serious explanation, a familiar tablet and a caring tone can all strengthen expectation. This does not mean symptoms are imaginary. It means perception is active, not passive. The brain is not a camera. It is a regulator. Placebo effects also reveal why trust in care can matter. When you feel safe and understood, the body often relaxes. That relaxation changes what hurts, what itches, and what feels possible. Tears carry chemistry, and they can calm the nervous system. Crying is not only sadness spilling out. It is also a built-in reset with a physical cascade that changes how the body feels from the inside. Tears wash and cool the eyes, yet the bigger change happens through breath and rhythm. Sobbing forces longer exhales and irregular pauses, which can pull the body away from a rigid stress pattern. Many people notice a soft drop in tension afterward, as if pressure has been released from behind the ribs. Tears also send a social message. They can invite comfort, reduce conflict, and signal that words have run out. Even when you cry alone, the act can mark a turning point. It says, "This matters." It says, "I am here with it." In that sense, tears are not the opposite of strength. They are one way the body metabolizes feeling into relief. Suppressing feelings can raise stress, even when you look fine. You can hold a smile while your body is bracing. You can say you are okay while your stomach is tight. Suppressing emotion often works on the outside, but it can cost you on the inside. When you push a feeling down, your nervous system still carries the energy of that feeling. Muscles stay tense. Breath stays shallow. Attention stays narrowed. Over time, this can raise stress load because the body is working to keep the lid on. Suppression can be useful in short bursts, like staying calm during an emergency. The trouble comes when it becomes the default. Then, feelings do not disappear. They leak out as irritability, exhaustion, or numbness. They can also show up as physical symptoms because the body and mind share the same system. A healthier approach is acknowledgement. You can name what you feel, choose when to share it, and decide what action it needs. The goal is not to spill everything. The goal is to stop carrying everything alone. Hope is often misunderstood as wishful thinking, when in reality it is a planning emotion. It can be a practical force that helps the brain keep working on the future. When you feel hope, you are more likely to search for routes, make small steps, and tolerate uncertainty. Hope does not have to claim that everything will be fine. It can say, "There might be a way forward, and I will look for it." That shift matters because the nervous system behaves differently when it senses possibility. It reduces the urge to freeze. It supports problem-solving and patience. Hope can be tiny and still powerful. It can be the decision to send one message, make one appointment, or try one new strategy. People often confuse hope with certainty. Hope does not require certainty. It requires direction. When you practice hope, you train your mind to keep building bridges, even when you cannot yet see the far shore. Naming a feeling can reduce its grip by engaging regulation. When a feeling is unnamed, it can feel like a fog that fills your whole mind. When you name it, you give it edges. That simple act can recruit brain systems that support regulation and perspective. Instead of being inside a storm, you are observing a storm. You might say, "This is irritation," or "This is disappointment," or "This is dread." Then you can ask what it is pointing to. Naming also helps separate layers. You may think you are angry, then realize you are hungry, tired, and embarrassed. Each layer has a different solution. Naming is not about talking yourself out of emotion. It is about making emotion clearer so it can do its job. This is why expanding your emotional vocabulary can be powerful. The more precise the label, the more precise the response. If you call everything stress, everything gets the same tool. If you can tell stress from grief, from fear, you can care for yourself more accurately. A named feeling is still real, but it is less overwhelming. The gut and brain talk constantly, shaping mood through signals. Your gut is not a separate world from your emotions. It is wired to the brain through nerves, hormones, and immune signals, and it sends updates all day long. That is why worry can cause nausea and why excitement can feel like butterflies. The gut also hosts an enormous community of microbes that help process food and produce compounds that can influence the body, including signals tied to inflammation and neurotransmitter building blocks. When digestion is off, mood can shift. When diet changes, sleep and energy can change, and feelings often follow. Your brain listens to the body, and the gut is one of its loudest messengers. This connection is also hopeful. Supporting gut health through regular meals, fiber-rich foods, hydration, and stress reduction can support emotional steadiness. Even the ritual of eating can matter. Sitting down, chewing slowly, and feeling safe while you eat can help the system settle. Mood is a whole-body event. Hunger can amplify irritability because the brain guards its fuel. When your blood sugar dips, your brain notices before you do. It is an organ that spends energy constantly, and it treats fuel shortage as a serious problem. That can make you more reactive, even if nothing else is wrong. A slow line at the store becomes unbearable. A small noise feels like an insult. The irritation is not a moral failure. It is a protective system pushing you to solve the problem fast. Hunger also narrows attention. You focus on immediate needs, and long-term patience becomes harder to access. This is why arguments often spark around mealtimes, especially in families with busy schedules. It is also why a snack can change a conversation more than a clever sentence. Once fuel arrives, the threat signal fades, and the mind regains flexibility. Knowing this helps you plan. If you are heading into a hard discussion, it may be wise to feed your brain first. Sometimes peace is only a sandwich away. Regret can improve choices when it becomes information, not punishment. Regret hurts because it points to a fork in the road. It says, "You could have chosen differently." That sting can be useful if it turns into learning rather than self-cruelty. When regret is handled well, it becomes a teacher. It highlights what you value, what you overlooked, and what you want to do next time. It can sharpen your future decisions by making consequences more vivid. The trap is turning regret into a life sentence. When you replay a mistake only to attack yourself, you keep the pain and lose the lesson. A healthier approach is to extract one clear insight. What assumption was wrong? What signal did you ignore? What boundary did you fail to set? Then you make a small repair if you can, or you make a new rule for the future. Regret becomes lighter when it has a job. Once it delivers its message, it can step aside. Anticipation can be sweeter than the reward you finally get. Think of a vacation countdown, a wrapped gift, or the first page of a new book you have been saving. Anticipation builds a bright tension that can feel delicious. The brain is constructing the future, and that construction itself can be rewarding. You replay possibilities, imagine details, and let desire stretch across time. Sometimes the real event cannot match the imagined version because imagination has no limits. That does not mean you are foolish. It means your brain can generate pleasure from prediction, not only from outcome. Anticipation can motivate effort too. Training for a race often includes the emotional fuel of picturing the finish. Planning a reunion can carry weeks of warmth before anyone arrives. There is also a caution. When anticipation becomes constant chasing, the present can feel dull. The skill is learning to enjoy the spark of looking forward, while still being able to land in what is happening now. Done well, anticipation is a lantern. It lights the path ahead without stealing the ground beneath your feet. People differ in sensitivity, and that is partly genetic. Two people can walk through the same day and carry very different emotional intensity. One might feel mildly stressed. Another might feel deeply overwhelmed. Sensitivity varies, and some of that difference comes from genes that shape how the nervous system responds to stimulation. This can show up early. Some children startle easily, notice subtle shifts in tone, and need more time to warm up to new situations. Others seem unbothered by noise and novelty. Sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a trait with trade-offs. Highly sensitive people often pick up detail, empathy, and nuance. They may also tire faster in chaotic environments. Less sensitive people may stay steady under pressure, yet sometimes miss small cues. What matters is fit. When you understand your sensitivity, you can design life around it. You can build recovery time, choose environments wisely, and stop blaming yourself for being tuned the way you are. Your nervous system has a setting, and it deserves respect. Names you learn for feelings can change what you notice inside. If you only know the word angry, many inner states may get filed under one label. If you learn frustrated, betrayed, and protective, you may start to sense different flavors. Language can train perception. When you gain a new feeling word, you often gain a new category for experience. That category can guide attention. You begin noticing clues you once ignored, like the difference between tight chest and hot face. This matters because labels can shape what you do next. If you call it fear, you might avoid. If you call it anticipation, you might prepare. Many cultures teach different emotional vocabularies, and that can create different habits of noticing. This does not mean words control you. It means words can be tools. The richer your map, the less likely you are to get lost in a single blurry emotion that seems to explain everything. You can feel anxious, even when you cannot name the cause. Sometimes anxiety feels like a smoke alarm with no visible smoke. Your mind scans for an explanation, yet all you can find is a tight throat, restless hands, and a feeling that something is off. This can happen when the brain has learned danger patterns that stay below conscious awareness. A tone of voice, a certain hour of night, or a familiar hallway can prime the nervous system, even if you cannot pinpoint why. Your body prepares for action, and your thoughts rush in afterward to make sense of it. That search for a reason can intensify the loop. One helpful shift is to treat the sensation as a signal rather than a verdict. You can ask what your system is protecting you from. Then offer it steadier cues like slower breathing and a safe place to look around. The same stress hormone can pair with excitement, not only dread. That buzzy rush before a big moment can feel like danger, but it can also be fuel. Your body uses many of the same ingredients for fear and excitement. Pulse climbs. Breathing quickens. Attention narrows toward what matters most. The difference often comes from interpretation and context. At the edge of a roller coaster, the body is activated and the mind says, "This is fun." Before a difficult conversation, the body is activated and the mind says, "This is risky." The chemistry can look similar, while the meaning changes the experience. Athletes learn this in warm-ups. Performers learn it backstage. They do not always try to erase the surge. They learn to steer it. When you tell yourself this energy can help me, your brain may recruit courage instead of catastrophe, using the same spark for a different story. Some people feel emotions mainly as sensations, not clear labels. For some minds, feelings arrive as weather in the body, not as words. There is pressure behind the eyes. There is heaviness in the stomach. There is heat in the face. When asked what is wrong, the honest answer is, "I do not know, but I can feel it." This experience is more common than many people think. It can make relationships tricky, because others may want a neat label like sad or angry. Inside, it is more like a shifting blend. The good news is, that sensation can be a doorway, not a dead end. If you track where it sits, what it does, and when it changes, you can begin to map it. Over time, you might notice that chest tightness often comes with worry, while a hollow tiredness leans toward grief. This is emotional literacy, built from the body outward. Your heartbeat rhythm can influence how intense a feeling seems. Your heart does more than keep time. It sends a steady stream of signals back to the brain, and the brain uses that information when deciding how intense the moment feels. When the rhythm is jumpy or fast, everything can seem sharper. A neutral comment can sound like criticism. A small uncertainty can feel like a cliff edge. When the rhythm is steadier, the same situation can feel manageable. This is one reason paced breathing can change emotion so quickly. You are not persuading yourself with words. You are changing the internal evidence your brain is reading. Some people notice this most clearly after climbing stairs or drinking strong coffee. The body is revved, then the mind goes searching for a reason. If you catch that pattern, you can pause and ask, is my heart telling a story that the world did not actually start? That question alone can soften the intensity. Warmth on your skin can increase comfort and social trust. Warmth is one of the earliest signals of safety you ever learned. Long before you understood language, being held close meant heat, steadiness, and protection. That association can linger in adult brains in surprising ways. A warm drink can feel soothing even before you taste it. A warm shower can make the mind less defensive. Warmth can also shape how we interpret other people. When you feel physically comfortable, social cues are often read as less threatening. The world seems a little more welcoming. This is not magic. It is conditioning plus physiology, and it makes sense for a social species. When the body is cold, it prepares for stress. When the body is warm, it can afford openness. That is why small rituals of warmth can matter, especially during hard seasons. A blanket, a mug, a sunlit seat can be a quiet invitation for the nervous system to unclench. Loneliness changes perception, making social cues feel more threatening. Loneliness is not simply being alone. It is the sense that you are cut off, unseen, or unsafe in the social world. When that happens, the brain can shift into a protective mode. It starts scanning faces and messages for signs of rejection. An unread text can feel like a verdict. A short reply can sound like dislike. This is not because lonely people are irrational. It is because the mind is trying to prevent further hurt. The problem is that this heightened alertness can misfire. It can turn ambiguous signals into danger, which can lead to withdrawal, which deepens the loneliness. The loop can feel cruel, yet understanding it can be a relief. It suggests that the sting is not proof that you are unlovable. It is proof that you are wired to need connection. Small, consistent social warmth can slowly retrain perception, like light returning to a room that has been dim for too long. Anger can feel energizing because it mobilizes the body fast. Anger often arrives with a surge that feels like electricity under the skin. It narrows focus. It stiffens posture. It can make you feel powerful and ready to act. That energy has a purpose. It is the body's way of mobilizing you when something seems unfair, blocked, or threatened. In small doses, it can help you set boundaries and protect what matters. It can also be deceptive. The rush can feel like certainty, even when you have incomplete information. It can make a simple disagreement feel like a battle for respect. One revealing detail is how anger changes the sense of options. When it is high, you may only see attack or retreat. When it settles, you can see negotiation, humor, and repair. That is why slowing down matters. You are not trying to erase a feeling. You are trying to widen the world again, so the energy can serve you instead of driving you. Shame often urges hiding, long before you think it through. Shame has a distinctive pull. It makes you want to shrink, look away, and disappear. It can flood the body with heat and urgency, even if no one else has noticed a mistake. That impulse is ancient. In social groups, being rejected could mean losing protection and resources. Shame acts like an emergency brake, telling you to stop whatever might risk your place in the group. The trouble is that shame often overreacts. It can treat being imperfect as being unsafe. It can convince you that you are your worst moment. Because the urge to hide is so strong, shame thrives in silence. It grows in the dark space where no one can offer perspective. Naming it helps, but so does remembering the difference between actions and identity. You can regret what you did without declaring yourself unworthy. When shame loosens, curiosity returns, and repair becomes possible. Guilt can motivate repair when it stays tied to actions. Guilt is often uncomfortable, yet it can be one of the most constructive feelings you have. It points to a gap between what you did and what you value. Unlike shame, it does not have to declare that you are bad. It can simply say, something needs fixing. That distinction matters. When guilt stays focused on behavior, it can lead to apologies, honest conversations, and changed habits. It can deepen trust because repair is a form of respect. There is also a quieter kind of guilt, the kind that lingers after you set a boundary or choose your own needs. That guilt can be a leftover training signal, not a moral truth. It might be your brain adjusting to a new way of living. A useful question is, can I make amends, or am I just punishing myself? Real repair tends to bring relief. Endless self-blame tends to keep the wound open. Feelings are your brain's story about real body states. Before you can describe an emotion, your body is already shifting. Your heart may speed or slow. Your breathing may tighten or open. Muscles change their readiness, and hormones start moving through blood. Then your brain does what it does best. It interprets those signals using context. It asks, what is happening? What does it mean? And what should I do next? That interpretation becomes the feeling you recognize. The same sweaty palms can become stage fright, first date excitement, or caffeine jitters. Your brain is not inventing reality. It is translating a storm of internal data into a usable experience. That is why emotions can feel so vivid and so personal. They are your biology, made understandable through meaning. Two people can feel the same event and live different worlds. Picture the same thunderclap outside two windows. One person smiles because rain means relief for a garden. Another flinches because storms once meant danger. Their ears receive similar sound. Their nervous systems prepare in different ways. The difference often comes from learning, memory, and expectation. Your brain stores patterns about what usually happens next. It uses those patterns to predict. When predictions differ, feelings differ. Even attention matters. If one person notices shelter and another notices risk, their bodies will follow those interpretations. Social experience plays a role too. If you grew up being punished for showing emotion, you may feel numbness where someone else feels tears. This is not weakness or drama. It is a mind shaped by its history. Your inner world is a lived map, not a shared photograph. Your body reacts first, and your feeling often arrives after. Imagine stepping off a curb and hearing a horn. Your shoulders jump. Your pulse surges. Your feet shift. Only then does the mind catch up with a label like fear. This timing is part of survival. Fast body reactions buy you a fraction of a second. The conscious story comes later, once you are safe enough to explain. Sometimes that delay creates strange moments. You may find yourself trembling while thinking, "I am fine." Your body was running a program before your thoughts joined the meeting. This is why it can help to work with physiology first. A longer exhale, relaxed jaw, and a steady gaze can send new information upward. You are not arguing with feelings. You are updating the signals that helped create them. A single feeling can spread through a crowd faster than words. Walk into a room and you can sense it. Tension, excitement, grief, or relief can hang in posture and pace. Humans are built to read other humans quickly. We track faces, voices, and movement for clues about safety and belonging. When one person's anxiety rises, others may unconsciously match breathing or tighten their own muscles. When laughter breaks out, it can cascade. This spread is not mystical. It is rapid social perception paired with automatic imitation and attention. Your brain treats other people as part of the environment. If everyone looks alarmed, your system prepares. That preparation changes your expression, which becomes a new signal for someone else. In this way, emotion can ripple through a group like wind through grass. It can unite people in courage. It can also amplify panic. Awareness is a powerful circuit breaker. Your face can nudge your mood, even when you fake a smile. Your face is not only a display for others. It is also part of your body's feedback system. When your brow furrows, signals from muscles and skin travel back to the brain. When your jaw clenches, your nervous system gets a hint that something is wrong. A smile can work in reverse. Lifting the cheeks and softening the eyes can shift the body toward a less defensive state. It will not erase real problems. It can change the starting conditions. Think of it like turning down the volume on an alarm so you can hear your own thoughts. This effect is small and it varies across people and situations. Still, it is a reminder that emotion is embodied. Sometimes the quickest way to influence a feeling is not a speech in your head. It is a quiet adjustment of posture, breath, and expression. Music can trigger chills by recruiting reward circuits and memory. A song can raise goosebumps like a wave moving across skin. That shiver is not only about sound. It often happens when the brain predicts a musical moment, and the moment arrives with extra force. A sudden harmony, a soaring voice, or a drum drop can deliver surprise and satisfaction at once. Reward systems respond, and the body reacts. Memory deepens it. A melody linked to a childhood car ride can bring emotion before you know why. Your brain is stitching together pattern, expectation, and personal history. Even people with different tastes can share the same physical response. The track is different, yet the mechanism is similar. That is why music can comfort in grief and energize in fatigue. It can bypass argument and go straight to feeling. In the dark with headphones, it can be like holding a key that fits a lock you did not know you had. Love changes attention, making ordinary details glow with meaning. When you care deeply about someone, your brain starts treating their signals as valuable. A small change in their voice becomes noticeable. Their smile becomes a reward. Their absence becomes a kind of noise, even in silence. Attention is limited, so what you attend to shows what matters. Love often tilts that spotlight. It can make a cracked joke feel brilliant and a simple text feel like a lifeline. This is not only poetry. It is motivation and learning. The brain tags certain cues as important and returns to them again and again. Over time, shared moments become a private library. A street corner, a scent, or a phrase can carry a whole relationship in a single second. Love can also distort. It can make you miss red flags or overinterpret a pause. Still, the core is remarkable. A bond can tune perception so strongly that the world itself seems edited, as if someone adjusted the brightness on meaning. Fear can sharpen time, so seconds feel strangely stretched. In a frightening moment, the mind can feel like it speeds up. You may notice tiny details, like the color of a wall or the angle of a hand. Time seems to slow, even though the clock does not change. Part of this may come from attention and memory. When you take in more information, the moment later feels longer. Fear also pushes the body into readiness. Heart rate rises. Senses narrow toward threat. The brain prioritizes rapid learning, because remembering danger helps you survive next time. Afterwards, you may replay the scene with vivid clarity. That replay reinforces the feeling that it lasted ages. This effect can be protective, but it can also be exhausting. When your system is stuck in high alert, ordinary surprises can feel like emergencies. Understanding this can be comforting. The strange stretching of time is not you being dramatic. It is your brain doing its best to keep you alive. Joy is not one thing. It has many biological flavors. Joy can be a spark, like the burst of laughter you cannot hold back. It can be a warm glow that settles after good news. It can be the calm satisfaction of finishing something hard. These experiences feel related, yet they are not identical in the body. Some joys are high energy and social. Others are quiet and steady. The brain uses different mixes of attention, motivation, and reward to create them. A playful joy pulls you toward movement and connection. A proud joy can make you stand taller and take on new challenges. A tender joy might show up as soft tears when something is deeply meaningful. Even simple pleasures have their own signatures, like the comfort of a familiar meal or the ease of a safe home. This variety matters. If you think joy must look like excitement, you might miss the forms that arrive as peace. Your nervous system can celebrate in more than one accent. Disgust protects you, and it also shapes moral judgments. Disgust began as a guardian of the mouth. It helps you avoid spoiled food, dirty water, and anything that might carry disease. That protective reflex is fast, and it is hard to argue with. Your stomach turns before your mind explains why. What surprises many people is how easily that same feeling can spill into social life. When something seems unclean in a cultural sense, disgust can appear even if no germs are involved. It can change how harshly you judge a stranger, a rumor, or a taboo. That means a bodily safety system can quietly influence ideas about right and wrong. It can also be manipulated. If someone wants to turn a group into an enemy, they may use language that invites disgust. Learning this gives you a kind of freedom. You can pause and ask whether you are sensing real contamination or borrowing a reflex for a moral decision. Surprise is the feeling of prediction breaking in real time. Your brain is constantly guessing what happens next. It predicts the next word in a sentence, the next step on a staircase, and the next note in a melody. Surprise is what you feel when the guess fails. That failure is not a mistake to be ashamed of. It is information the brain loves. In a surprising moment, attention snaps awake and learning accelerates. You might notice how your eyes widen, how your breath catches, and how the world suddenly feels sharper. A good magic trick works because it exploits this system. Your brain commits to one explanation, then reality reveals a different one. Even a plot twist in a story can produce a jolt because your prediction machinery was already writing the next scene. Surprise can be delightful, but it can also be frightening. The same mechanism powers both. In each case, it is the mind updating its model of reality. That update is how you grow. Relief is a reward signal when danger quietly passes. Relief can feel like warmth moving through the chest, like air returning after you forgot to breathe. It happens when your system expects something bad, then discovers it will not happen. A medical test comes back fine. A loved one texts back after a long silence. A sudden noise turns out to be only the wind. Your body had been preparing for loss, and now it can stand down. That stand down is not neutral. The brain treats it as a kind of reward, because accurate safety predictions help you survive. Relief can also be sneaky. It can reinforce habits that reduce fear in the short term, even if those habits cause trouble later. That is one reason avoidance can become sticky. It brings relief, and relief feels like proof you chose wisely. Noticing relief as a powerful reward helps you understand your own patterns with kindness. It is the nervous system celebrating safety, even if it sometimes learns the wrong lesson. Pride can boost persistence, especially after effort, not luck. There is a form of pride that steadies you. It shows up when you did something hard, stayed honest, or kept going after you wanted to quit. That feeling is not arrogance. It is a signal that effort matters. The brain notices, I can do difficult things, and it becomes more willing to try again. Pride grows stronger when you connect it to choices you controlled. You practiced. You apologized. You learned a skill step by step. That kind of pride builds resilience because it points to a repeatable path. Pride based on luck is different. It can feel good, but it does not teach your nervous system what to do next time. Healthy pride also has a social side. It can inspire others when it is shared with humility, and it can strengthen bonds when people celebrate progress together. In that way, pride can become a quiet engine for growth. It tells you that the climb was real and you were the one climbing. Gratitude strengthens relationships by highlighting support you might miss. Gratitude is a spotlight. It turns your attention toward the ways you are helped, even when help is small and easy to overlook. A friend remembers your favorite snack. A co-worker colors a shift. A stranger holds a door when your hands are full. When you notice these moments, your brain updates its picture of the social world. It starts seeing others as reliable and kind. That shift can soften defensiveness and make connection feel safer. Gratitude also changes behavior. People who feel appreciated often want to keep showing up because appreciation is a form of social reward. When you express it clearly, relationships tend to get sturdier. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about training your mind to register support alongside stress. Even in difficult seasons, gratitude can be real. It can be specific, and it can be honest. One sincere thank you can carry more weight than a long speech because it tells someone, I saw you. Envy can reveal values, showing what you wish mattered less. Envy is uncomfortable, and it can feel embarrassing to admit. Yet it can also be a clue. When you envy someone, your mind is pointing at a resource or a status that seems important for your life. It might be money, attention, talent, freedom, or belonging. Envy can tell you what you want before you have the courage to say it out loud. It can also expose values you did not choose on purpose. You might envy an influencer's popularity, then realize you actually want community, not applause. The feeling often comes with a sharp comparison, and comparison can distort. You may focus on another person's highlight while forgetting their costs. Still, envy can be used. If you treat it as information, it can guide planning. Ask what is beneath it. Is it inspiration wearing a sour mask? Is it a need for recognition, security, or creative space? When you identify the need, envy loses some of its sting and becomes direction. Jealousy is a guarding response, aimed at threatened bonds. Jealousy tends to show up when a relationship feels at risk. It can be romantic, but it can also be friendship, family, or a close team. The feeling says, "This bond matters, and I fear losing my place." Jealousy can sharpen attention toward rivals, real or imagined. It can make you read tone, timing, and small interactions as signs of danger. In that way, jealousy is a protective alarm. It tries to prevent abandonment by urging you to act. The problem is that the actions jealousy suggests are often clumsy. Accusations can push people away. Surveillance can break trust. Silence can grow into stories that are not true. Jealousy can also hide softer feelings underneath, like insecurity or grief. When you can name the fear beneath the guard dog, you get more options. You might ask for reassurance, clarify boundaries, or strengthen connection with honesty instead of control. The feeling is not shameful. It is a sign that attachment is alive. What matters is how you respond. Compassion can reduce pain for both giver and receiver. Compassion is not just kindness. It is a specific response to suffering, but includes a wish to help. When you offer compassion, your voice often softens, your body relaxes, and your attention becomes steady. Those cues can change how another person's nervous system behaves. A calm presence can make pain feel more manageable, partly because it reduces isolation. Surprisingly, compassion can also benefit the giver. Helping someone can activate reward and purpose, which can counter feelings of helplessness. Compassion does not mean you take on everyone's problems. It works best with clear boundaries, because burnout is not a form of love. There is also self-compassion, which many people resist. They fear it will make them weak. In reality, a supportive inner voice can make you braver. When you stop wasting energy on self-punishment, you have more strength for repair and action. Compassion can be a kind of medicine that travels both ways, from you to others, and back again. Laughter is social glue, and babies use it early. Before babies can speak, they can already share a tiny social miracle. Laughter is one of the first signals that says, "I am safe with you, and I like what is happening." It often appears during peekaboo, tickles, and silly faces, which are all playful surprises without real threat. When adults hear it, they instinctively lean in, smile back, and mirror the rhythm. That mirroring builds trust fast because bodies begin to synchronize. In groups, laughter can spread and soften tension, even when nobody explains what changed. It marks belonging, and it rewards cooperation. It can also repair. After an awkward moment, a small laugh can reopen connection without a long apology. Laughter is not only humor. It is a primitive social tool, tuned to bring nervous systems into a shared sense of safety and togetherness. Touch releases bonding chemicals, especially with trusted people. A simple hug can do more than comfort. It can change the chemistry of connection. When touch is safe and welcome, the body often shifts toward bonding signals that support trust and closeness. Shoulders drop, breathing slows. Muscles that were braced can let go. Touch also carries information. A hand on the back can say, "I am here." A squeeze can say, "You have support." This is one reason touch feels different from words. It arrives through the skin, and the skin is part of the nervous system. Context matters deeply. The same contact can feel soothing with a loved one and alarming with a stranger. Consent shapes the entire response. With trust, affectionate touch can buffer stress, help people recover after conflict, and strengthen bonds over time. In a lonely season, even small, safe contact can remind the body that connection is not just an idea. It is something you can feel. Smell is an emotional shortcut because it links tightly to memory. A single scent can unlock a whole scene in an instant. You smell sunscreen, and suddenly you are back on a hot sidewalk near the beach. You catch a hint of a certain perfume, and a person appears in your mind with startling clarity. Smell travels through brain pathways that sit close to regions involved in emotion and memory, so it can trigger feelings before you can explain them. That is why scent-based memories often feel vivid and immediate. They do not arrive as a story first. They arrive as a mood that wraps around you. This can be comforting, but it can also be unsettling if a smell is tied to fear or grief. Even everyday smells can become powerful anchors, like detergent from childhood sheets or the spice of a family kitchen. When you understand how fast scent can move the heart, you can use it with intention, choosing aromas that support the state you want to live in. A familiar song can revive feelings you thought were gone. Sometimes you do not realize a feeling is still stored in you until a song opened the door. A few notes can bring back a whole emotional landscape, encoding the posture you had then and the hopes you carried. Music binds rhythm, melody, and memory into one package, and the brain can retrieve that package with surprising force. You might feel a smile rise without deciding to smile. You might feel tears come from nowhere, and then you realize they came from somewhere very specific. This is not only nostalgia. It is the nervous system recognizing a pattern that once mattered. That recognition can be healing, because it shows you what you survived, what you loved, and what shaped you. It can also reveal growth. A song that once felt painful may later feel tender because you are listening with a different life inside you. When you choose music wisely, you are choosing which inner rooms to visit. Nostalgia can lift mood, even while it feels bittersweet. Nostalgia is a strange comfort. It can ache and soothe in the same breath. You remember a place, a season, or a person, and you feel both the warmth of having had it and the sadness of it being gone. That mix can still be uplifting because it reminds you that your life contains meaning and connection. It says, you have loved, you have belonged, you have been moved. In hard times, nostalgia can restore a sense of continuity. It can make you feel anchored to a longer story than the present moment. People often turn to photos, old shows, family recipes, and childhood games for this reason. The past becomes a resource, not an escape. Nostalgia can also guide you. If you miss something, you can ask what it represents. Was it freedom, friendship, or hope? When you name what the memory carries, you can look for that quality again in a new form, in the life you are building now. The brain often remembers peak moments, not average feelings. After an experience ends, your memory does not store every minute with equal weight. It often grabs the emotional high points, along with how the experience finished, then uses those highlights to summarize the whole thing. That is why a trip with one breathtaking view can feel amazing in hindsight, even if much of it was ordinary waiting. It is also why a dinner can be remembered as terrible if it ended in an argument, even if most of it was pleasant. Your brain is not trying to be unfair. It is trying to be efficient. peaks and endings help predict whether something is worth repeating. This has real consequences. It shapes what you crave, what you avoid, and what you recommend to friends. It also means you can design experiences with care. A thoughtful ending can change the story your mind stores. A small moment of joy near the close can matter more than you expect, because the brain uses it like a signature. You can misread excitement as panic when arousal runs high. A racing heart can feel like danger, but it can also be readiness. The body uses similar activation for many states, so the mind has to interpret what the activation means. In a crowded room before a performance, you might notice shaky hands and fast breathing. Then your thoughts declare, "I am panicking." Yet that same body pattern can also be excitement, especially if the situation is meaningful and you feel capable. This is why reframing can work. It is not pretending. It is choosing the most accurate story for the context. People sometimes practice by naming sensations instead of judgments. My heart is fast. My stomach is fluttering. My legs feel charged. Then they add a meaning that fits their goals, like, my body is preparing to do something important. Over time, this skill can change how you approach challenges. The feeling in your chest stays strong, but it stops automatically becoming fear. It becomes energy you can steer. Sleep loss makes emotions louder and self-control quieter. One short night can turn the world up too high. Small frustrations feel sharp. Sad thoughts feel heavier. Even happy moments can swing into giddy restlessness that is hard to steer. Part of the reason is simple. Sleep helps the brain reset its emotional volume, and it supports the circuits that pause before reacting. Without enough rest, the mind has less space between impulse and action. You might snap, then wonder why that felt so urgent. You might read a neutral message as cold because your tired brain is hunting for threat. Sleep loss also weakens your ability to comfort yourself, so worries repeat like a song stuck on a chorus. The most surprising part is how convincing it feels in the moment. Tired emotions insist they are accurate. The next day, after real sleep, the same problems often shrink. It is not that life changed. Your internal microphone did. Pain and sadness share pathways, which is why heartbreak aches. When a bond breaks, the pain can feel physical. The chest tightens. The throat aches. Appetite changes. Sleep becomes fragile. This is not just metaphor. The brain systems that respond to social loss overlap with systems that process bodily pain, so rejection and grief can land like an injury. From an evolutionary view, that makes sense. Being pushed out of the group once threatened survival, so the brain treats disconnection as urgent. That urgency can drive you to seek repair, seek comfort, or seek meaning. It can also make you feel ashamed for hurting so much. Yet the ache is a sign of attachment doing its job. Your nervous system learned that people are safety. When that safety is threatened, the alarm sounds. Over time, the brain can relearn. New routines, new support, and new stories help the body loosen its grip. One day you notice the ache is quieter, and you did not even see it happening. Exercise can lift mood by shifting chemicals and attention. Movement can change emotion from the inside out. When you exercise, your body releases substances that support pleasure, calm, and resilience. Blood flow rises. Muscles warm. Breathing deepens. Your brain also gets a break from rumination because attention is pulled into rhythm, balance, and effort. Even a brisk walk can create a sense of forward motion that the mind interprets as progress. Many people discover that the best part happens after. The world looks slightly brighter and problems feel less sticky. Exercise can also build trust in your body. You learn, I can tolerate discomfort and keep going. That lesson carries into stress and anxiety because the sensations of exertion resemble emotional arousal, yet you practice staying steady. The key is that it does not have to be extreme. Dancing in the kitchen, climbing stairs, stretching while music plays all count. Your nervous system listens to what you do, not only what you think. Slow breathing can lower alarm signals without any pep talk. When you slow your breath, you are speaking a language the nervous system understands. The body has built-in sensors that track carbon dioxide, oxygen, and pressure changes in the lungs. A calmer pattern sends a message that danger is not immediate. That message can reduce the fight or flight response, even if your thoughts are still racing. This is why breathing is often easier than positive thinking during stress. You do not need to convince yourself. You need to shift the body's evidence. Try breathing out a little longer than you breathe in. Let the exhale be smooth and unforced. If your mind interrupts, that is fine. Return to the next breath like turning a page. Over a minute or two, heart rate often eases and muscles soften. Then, the mind can think more clearly. Slow breathing does not solve every problem, but it changes the terrain. It lowers the inner siren so you can choose your next step. Meditation trains noticing, so feelings pass without grabbing the wheel. Meditation is often imagined as emptying the mind, but it is closer to learning how to watch. You sit, you breathe, and you notice what arises. A thought shows up. An itch appears. A worry arrives with a familiar tone. Instead of chasing each one, you practice naming it and letting it move on. That simple practice can change your relationship with emotion. Feelings become events, not commands. You begin to sense the early hints, the tightening, the heat, the urge to act. Then you can pause. You can choose a response rather than being pulled along by the first impulse. Over time, meditation can increase tolerance for discomfort because you learn you can stay present without fixing everything immediately. This can be especially powerful for anxiety and anger, which often demand urgent action. The goal is not to become calm all the time. The goal is to become less hijacked. You gain a wider space inside, and emotions have room to travel through. Alcohol can blunt fear, while quietly increasing next-day anxiety. Alcohol can feel like a shortcut to relief. It slows reaction, dulls worry, and makes social risk feel easier. In the moment, the nervous system relaxes, and fear seems to loosen its grip. The catch is what happens later. As alcohol leaves the body, the brain can rebound toward alertness, and that can feel like unease or jittery dread. Sleep quality often suffers too, even if you fall asleep faster, and tiredness can amplify anxious thinking the next day. This pattern can be confusing. You may believe the drink helped because you remember the calm. You forget the later cost, or you blame the cost on life itself. That is how a habit can quietly grow. Understanding the cycle gives you options. If you choose to drink, you can notice timing and dose. You can plan recovery with water, food, and rest. Or you can choose other ways to soothe, so relief does not come with a hidden bill. Caffeine can mimic stress, and your mind explains it as worry. Caffeine does not create fear, but it can create the body sensations that fear often rides on. Your heart beats faster. Hands may tremble. Thoughts speed up. If you are already under pressure, that extra activation can tip into anxiety. Then the mind does what it always does. It looks for an explanation. It scans your life and finds a problem to attach to the feeling. Suddenly you are worrying about something that was not even on your radar an hour ago. This is not weakness. It is interpretation. Your brain assumes body arousal means something needs attention. The result can be a false emergency. Many people notice this in the afternoon, when coffee stacks on top of stress. One simple experiment is to track timing. If worry rises soon after caffeine, try reducing the dose or switching to earlier hours. You can also ground yourself by naming sensations without story. Fast heart, warm face, busy mind. Then you wait and watch it fade. Often it does. Chronic stress can flatten pleasure by dulling reward sensitivity. When stress becomes constant, the brain can shift into survival mode. It prioritizes scanning for problems and conserving energy. In that state, pleasure can feel muted. Food tastes less vivid. Music lands softly. Achievements feel like they barely count. This is not because you are ungrateful. It is because reward circuits can become less responsive when the system is stretched for too long. Your brain is trying to avoid disappointment and conserve resources, so it stops lighting up easily. This flattening can be frightening because it makes life feel colorless. People sometimes chase bigger stimulation to feel something again, which can lead to burnout loops. A more effective path is often restoration, real breaks, safe connection, movement, sleep, predictable routines, tiny, enjoyable moments, repeated often. Over time, reward sensitivity can return, like a radio signal coming back after interference clears. The first sign is usually small. A laugh that feels real. A sunset that lands. A song that reaches you again. Those are not trivial. They are your nervous system reopening. Hormone shifts can color feelings without changing your true values. Some days you wake up and the world feels sharper, louder, and more personal, and you cannot explain why. Hormones can be part of that mystery. They act like powerful messengers, adjusting sensitivity in stress systems, sleep, appetite, and social warmth. When levels shift, your emotional reactions can shift too. A comment that would normally bounce off might sting. A small worry might grow teeth. This does not mean your character changed overnight. It means the body changed the tint of the lens. Many people feel this around menstrual cycles, after childbirth, during perimenopause, and during times of illness or major stress. The most useful skill is separating values from weather. You can ask, what do I believe when I am steady? And what is my body amplifying today? That distinction can keep you from making permanent decisions based on temporary chemistry. It can also add compassion. You are not failing. You are adjusting to signals that are real. Puberty expands emotional range because the brain is rewiring. Puberty is not only a body growing taller. It is a nervous system reconfiguring itself. New hormones interact with brain circuits that handle reward, threat, and social meaning. Suddenly, feelings can arrive with surprising force. Embarrassment can feel like a spotlight. Attraction can feel like gravity. Anger can surge like a storm. Part of what makes this intense is timing. Some brain systems that chase reward and novelty become more active, while the systems that plan and inhibit impulses are still developing. That mismatch can make emotions feel huge and unpredictable. It also makes learning powerful. Teen years are a time when experiences, friendships, music, and identity can leave deep grooves. It is not only chaos. It is plasticity. The brain is building adult patterns, and it uses emotion as the highlighter pen. Understanding this can change how you view adolescence. It is not simply drama. It is a renovation happening while you live inside the house. Young children feel deeply, even when language lags behind. A child can have a big feeling long before they can explain it. Their nervous system is active, yet their vocabulary is small. That gap can look like tantrums, clinging, or sudden shutdown. Inside, it can be a flood of sensation with no map. A toddler may feel fear as stomach tightness, and they may not know the word fear. They only know, I want this to stop. That is why co-regulation matters. When an adult stays calm, names what might be happening, and offers predictable comfort, the child borrows that nervous system. Over time, those borrowed moments become internal skills. The child learns, feelings rise and fall. They learn, I can survive frustration. They learn, someone understands me. This is emotional education before school begins. It is also a reminder that behavior is often communication. A child may not be trying to be difficult. They may be trying to be understood with the only tools they have. Teen brains reward social belonging, making exclusion feel enormous. During adolescence, the social world becomes intensely important, and the brain reflects that. Belonging is rewarded strongly, and signals of rejection can hit like a physical blow. A left-out group chat, an eye roll, or a whisper in the hallway can feel like proof, but you do not matter. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It is an adaptation for learning social rules and building independence from family. If peers matter, you practice cooperation, identity, and status in a wider world. The downside is how painful exclusion can be. The brain treats it as urgent because social support once meant survival. Teens also tend to experience emotions quickly and publicly because self-awareness is high and privacy skills are still forming. Knowing this helps adults respond with more wisdom. Instead of dismissing it as drama, you can treat it as real pain with real stakes, then offer tools for perspective, boundaries, and recovery. The feeling is huge, but it can be guided. Aging can improve emotional balance as priorities narrow gently. Many people expect aging to only bring loss, yet emotional life can become steadier with time. As years pass, priorities often sharpen. You learn what drains you and what sustains you. You become less willing to spend energy on endless conflict and more willing to invest in relationships that feel real. This can lead to fewer emotional swings, not because you feel less, but because you choose differently. Experience also builds emotional pattern recognition. You have seen grief before, so it feels less like the end of the world. You have seen joy return after hard seasons, so you can wait with more patience. Older adults often report valuing meaning over novelty and connection over status. That shift can change what triggers anger or envy, because certain comparisons lose power. Aging does not erase sorrow. It can bring it. Yet it can also bring a quieter skill, the ability to hold feelings without being swallowed by them. In that sense, emotional balance can be one of the hidden gifts of time. Trauma can lock feelings to cues, like a scent or place. Trauma can teach the nervous system that danger is not over, even when it is. A certain smell, a certain song, or a certain street can become a key that unlocks the alarm response. The cue might be small, yet the body reacts as if the past is happening now. Heart rate jumps, muscles brace. The mind may go blank or race. This is not imagination. It is learning that was stored in survival circuits built for speed. Trauma memory often attaches to sensory fragments rather than a neat story, which is why a place or sound can trigger you without warning. Understanding this can reduce shame. You are not overreacting on purpose. Your system is trying to protect you using an old map. Healing often involves building new associations. Safe experiences, practiced grounding, and supportive relationships can teach the body that the cue is no longer a threat. Over time, the trigger can soften. The memory remains, but it stops hijacking the present. Safe relationships can help the nervous system relearn calm. A calm relationship can do something remarkable. It can teach your body that safety is possible again. When someone responds consistently, listens without punishing, and repairs after conflict, your nervous system begins to update its expectations. That update is not only mental. It shows up in breath, posture, and heart rhythm. You start to relax faster. You stop scanning for hidden danger. You become more willing to share what you feel. This is why trust is not built by grand gestures. It is built by repeated, ordinary moments. A promise kept. A tone that stays respectful. An apology that actually changes behavior. Over time, these moments create a new baseline. You might notice that you sleep better, or that your anger does not spike as quickly. This is co-regulation becoming self-regulation. It does not mean relationships should carry all the weight of healing. It means humans are wired to heal in connection. Safety is contagious too, and it can spread through two people like warmth spreading through hands. Humor can reframe threat, giving the brain a different ending. Humor is more than being funny. It is a mental move. It takes a situation that feels threatening and finds a new angle that reduces its power. When you laugh, your body shifts. Breath changes. Muscles loosen. The nervous system reads those changes as a sign that danger is lower. Humor can also change a memory. If you can tell a story with a light twist, you are teaching your brain that the event has more than one meaning. That can be protective, especially after embarrassment or failure. It does not erase the lesson. It prevents the lesson from becoming a wound. Humor is also social. Shared laughter signals alliance. It says, "We are okay." That can turn a tense room into a team again. There is a respectful kind of humor that comforts without mocking pain. Used well, it becomes a tool for resilience. It creates a new ending, and your brain loves endings. It stores them like closures, and closures help you move on. A supportive presence can lower stress hormones during challenge. Imagine facing a difficult test, a job interview, or a frightening medical appointment. Now imagine doing it while someone steady is beside you. Not rescuing you, just present, attentive, and calm. For many people, that presence changes the body's stress response. The heart can settle sooner. The mind can think more clearly. The feeling of threat shrinks because you are not alone with it. This is one reason children calm faster when a trusted adult stays nearby. It is also why friends who sit with you in silence can feel like medicine. Support does not need perfect words. Often it is eye contact, patient listening, and a sense that you will not be judged. The body reads those signals as safety. Over time, repeated support can train your nervous system to self-soothe more easily. You learn the shape of calm, then you carry it with you. Social rejection activates brain regions that also process physical pain. A cold shoulder can sting like a bruise. A breakup can leave you aching. That is not just poetic language. The brain systems that respond to physical pain overlap with systems that respond to social loss and exclusion. From a survival view, it makes sense. For much of human history, being pushed out of the group could be dangerous. The brain treats disconnection as urgent, so it uses the same alarm infrastructure. That is why rejection can hijack attention and replay in your mind, even when you want to move on. It is also why kindness after rejection feels so powerful. A single warm message can reduce the sense of threat because it signals you still belong somewhere. Understanding this changes the story you tell yourself. If rejection hurts, it does not mean you are weak. It means you are built for connection, and your brain is doing its job. Culture shapes which feelings are celebrated and which are hidden. Emotions are universal, yet the rules around them are not. In some cultures, open excitement is welcomed and loud grief is expected. In others, restraint is a sign of respect and strong emotion is kept private. These rules shape what people practice from childhood. If your community rewards calm, you may get skilled at masking anger. If your community rewards boldness, you may get skilled at expressing pride. Culture also shapes what people feel allowed to want. That can change the emotional life of the whole society, without anyone noticing it as culture. When people migrate, these emotional rules can collide. A parent may read a quiet child as distant, while the child believes they are being polite. None of this means feelings are fake. It means expression is learned. Understanding cultural emotion rules can reduce misunderstanding and increase compassion, especially in families and friendships with different backgrounds. Some languages have feeling words with no neat English equivalent. Sometimes a feeling exists in your body, yet English makes you reach for a long explanation. Other languages often carry single words for emotional experiences that English only circles around. When you learn one of those words, it can feel like discovering a new color. Suddenly, an experience you have always had becomes easier to notice and share. This matters because naming helps tracking. If you can name a feeling, you can find patterns in when it appears and what it needs. A new word can also validate an experience. It tells you other humans have felt this too, often enough to name it. That can reduce loneliness. It can also expand empathy. You may hear a friend describe a feeling in their language and realize your own emotional map has gaps. Learning emotional words is not about sounding smart. It is about becoming more precise in your inner life, so your feelings become clearer guides rather than confusing fog. Facial expressions are partly universal, yet context can rewrite them. A smile, a frown, and a look of fear can be recognized across many places, which suggests humans share some common facial language. Yet faces do not speak alone. Context can change the meaning completely. Tears can signal grief, joy, relief, or even frustration. A wide-eyed look can mean terror, surprise, or playful exaggeration. Culture also guides when expressions are shown. Some people learn to keep their faces neutral in public. Others learn to display warmth openly as a social bridge. This is why reading faces is both powerful and risky. We are good at detecting emotion quickly, but we can be wrong about the story behind it. A person may look angry when they are concentrating. They may look bored when they are anxious. The most reliable way to understand a face is to pair it with the situation, the voice, and the relationship. Faces are real signals, but they are not full sentences. Voice tone can carry emotion, even when words stay neutral. You can say fine in a way that means 10 different things. The words stay the same, yet the meaning changes through pitch, rhythm, volume, and timing. Voice tone is one of the fastest emotional signals humans exchange. It can soothe a crying child before any explanation. It can escalate an argument before anyone says anything harsh. Tone also travels through phones and walls, which makes it a powerful tool for connection at a distance. This is why some conversations feel safe, even when the topic is hard. The tone says, "I am with you." It is also why sarcasm can cut so deeply. The words might be polite, but the tone carries contempt. Many misunderstandings happen when tone is misread, especially across cultures or between people with different communication styles. A useful practice is to notice not only what someone said, but how your body reacted to how they said it. Tone is emotional weather, and you feel it before you analyze it. Eye contact can intensify feelings by raising social stakes. Eye contact is a tiny bridge that can feel electric. When two people meet eyes, attention locks and the social world becomes immediate. That can be wonderful. It can deepen intimacy, make laughter feel shared, and turn a simple compliment into something that lands. It can also raise the sense of risk. If you fear judgment, eye contact can feel like being evaluated. Your heart may speed up because the stakes feel higher. This is why some people avoid eye contact when they are anxious or ashamed. The nervous system is protecting them from too much intensity. Context matters again. In some cultures, direct eye contact is respect. In others, it can be read as challenge. In close relationships, steady eye contact can become a tool for repair. During conflict, looking at each other can remind both bodies that there is a person here, not an enemy. It is one of the simplest ways humans say, "I see you." Digital messages can confuse emotion because tone cues disappear. A text can look cold when it was meant to be quick. A short reply can feel like rejection when the sender was simply busy. Digital messages strip away voice tone, facial expression, and timing cues that help the brain interpret emotion. Your mind fills in the missing pieces, and it usually fills them in using your current mood. If you are anxious, you may read threat. If you are lonely, you may read distance. This is why misunderstandings can grow so fast online. The brain dislikes ambiguity, so it invents a story to close the gap. Emojis and punctuation help, but they are imperfect substitutes for a real voice. One of the best fixes is simple. When a message feels loaded, pause before replying. Consider a more generous interpretation, or switch to a voice note or call. The goal is not constant clarity. It is remembering that silence on a screen is not the same as silence in a room. Dreams can rehearse feelings, especially fear and social tension. At night, your brain can run emotional simulations with the volume turned up. In dreams, you might be chased, embarrassed, or searching for someone you cannot find. These scenes are rarely literal predictions. They are more like rehearsals, built from memory fragments and current concerns. During dreaming sleep, the brain is busy sorting experiences, strengthening some connections and loosening others. Emotions provide the spotlight that tells the brain what matters. That is why social stress so often shows up as exams, lost phones, or arriving unprepared. The theme is not the event. The theme is vulnerability. Dreams can also let you practice coping without real-world consequences. You can run, hide, speak up, or ask for help, then wake up with your nervous system having processed the feelings in a strange, safe theater. Even when a dream is unsettling, it can be part of the brain's way of integrating the day. Nightmares can fade when the brain learns new safety associations. A nightmare can make you wake with your heart racing, as if danger followed you into the bedroom. The images can feel sticky, because fear is designed to be memorable. Yet, nightmares are not always permanent. They can soften when the brain starts linking the old fear to new endings. One powerful approach is to rewrite the nightmare while awake. You keep the beginning, then you change the middle or the ending into something safe, even something absurd. You rehearse the new version during the day, so the brain has a fresh pathway to use at night. Over time, the nervous system can learn that the trigger image does not always lead to threat. This is not pretending the trauma never happened. It is teaching the brain that the present is different. Nightmares also respond to basics like regular sleep, reduced stress, and a calming pre-bed routine. When the body feels safer, the dreaming mind often does too. Empathy uses imagination, building a model of someone else's mind. Empathy is not mind reading. It is a creative act where your brain builds a best guess of what another person might be experiencing. You watch their face, you hear their tone, you notice their choices, then you simulate how that situation would feel from the inside. That simulation is shaped by your own history, which is why empathy can be accurate and inaccurate at the same time. You may sense someone is hurting, yet misunderstand why. True empathy often includes curiosity. It asks, "Am I right about what you feel?" It listens for correction. Empathy can also be selective. You might find it easy with people who resemble you and harder with people whose lives are unfamiliar. The skill is expanding the imagination without flattening differences. Stories, travel, and honest conversation can strengthen it. When empathy is strong, it changes behavior. It makes cruelty harder, and it makes help feel natural, because another person's inner world becomes real to you. Mirror neurons are not magic, but they support shared understanding. When you watch someone reach for a cup, your brain does not stay completely idle. Some of the same systems involved in doing an action can activate while you observe it. This is part of what people mean when they talk about mirror neurons. It is not telepathy, and it does not explain every social skill, but it does hint at a powerful idea. Your brain can internally echo what it sees. That echo helps you predict actions, learn by watching, and understand intention. It also helps explain why yawns spread, and why you might flinch when someone else gets hurt. Observation can recruit your own body's patterns. This system works alongside attention, memory, and culture, so it is not a single switch called empathy. Still, it is a fascinating foundation. It suggests that human understanding is partly embodied. You do not only think about other people, you subtly simulate them. In a crowded world, that shared circuitry helps us coordinate, cooperate, and connect. Stories can change feelings by letting you practice different lives safely. A story is a rehearsal space with no real-world consequences. You can feel fear in a haunted house, grief in a tragedy, or triumph in an adventure, all while sitting safely on a couch. The brain treats narrative as meaningful because it tracks goals, obstacles, and outcomes. As you follow a character, you borrow their perspective and test emotional responses. You learn what betrayal feels like, what courage costs, and what forgiveness might require, without paying the full price yourself. Stories also offer endings, and endings matter. They can provide closure your real life has not yet delivered. That can change how you interpret your own experiences. A person struggling with shame might find a character who survives it, then feel a new kind of possibility. Stories can even shift empathy. When you spend time inside another viewpoint, your mind becomes less certain that your own perspective is the only one. That is emotional education through imagination, and it can quietly reshape how you live. Art can evoke sadness that feels good through meaning and control. It seems strange that people seek out sad songs, aching paintings, and films that make them cry. Yet sadness in art can feel safe in a way real sadness does not. You are choosing it, and that choice gives you control. You can pause, step back, or let it wash through you, knowing you are not trapped. Art also wraps sadness in meaning. A melody can turn grief into beauty, and beauty can make pain feel more bearable. There is often a sense of being understood, as if the artwork says, "You are not alone in this feeling." That can be deeply comforting. Sadness in art can also be cleansing. It invites tears without demanding explanations, and it can release tension you did not know you were holding. Not all sadness is soothing, but the kind shaped by art often carries a quiet companionship. It gives your emotion a place to land, and a shape that feels shareable. Rituals can soothe anxiety by creating predictable steps and signals. Anxiety feeds on uncertainty, and ritual is a tool that brings order. A ritual can be as small as making tea the same way each evening, or as large as a community ceremony with music and repeated words. What matters is the pattern. The brain relaxes when it can predict what happens next. Predictability reduces scanning, and it gives the nervous system something steady to hold. Rituals also mark transitions. They tell the body, work is ending. Grief is being honored. A new chapter is beginning. Without those markers, the mind can feel unmoored. Many people create personal rituals without naming them as such. A lucky pen before an exam, a particular song before a workout, a bedtime routine that signals safety. Rituals can even carry values. Lighting a candle for someone you miss says, "Love continues." Folding laundry with care says, "My home matters." In a noisy world, ritual is a calm structure you can return to, again and again. Singing together can synchronize breathing, which supports social bonding. When people sing together, they often start breathing in similar patterns, because phrases demand shared timing. That shared timing can make a group feel like one organism for a moment. You feel it in choirs, in stadium chants, and in birthday songs that somehow work despite chaos. Singing also blends voices into a single sound, which can reduce the feeling of being alone. For many people, it is easier to be brave inside a group voice than in a solo voice. That is why singing shows up in protest, worship, and celebration. It turns emotion into something audible, structured, and shared. There is also a physical pleasure in resonance, in feeling vibration in the chest and face. It is like the body becomes an instrument. Even people who claim they cannot sing often feel uplifted when they do it with others, because the point is not perfection. The point is connection. Singing says, "We are here together, and our timing can match." Dance can regulate mood through rhythm, movement, and attention. Dance can change emotion without requiring a single word. Rhythm gives your brain a structure to lock onto, like rails for attention. Movement gives your body a way to discharge tension, stretch, shake, or soften. When you dance, you are practicing agency. You choose how to move, and that choice can counter feelings of helplessness. Dance can also shift identity. A shy person can become bold for 3 minutes in a kitchen, then carry a bit of that boldness into the day. Different styles do different jobs. Slow swaying can calm. Sharp steps can energize. Group dancing adds another layer because you coordinate with others and feel belonging in the beat. Dance is also playful problem solving because your brain is constantly adjusting balance and timing. That engagement can interrupt rumination, which often fuels anxiety and low mood. You do not need a stage. A small space and a favorite song can be enough to change your nervous system's direction. Team sports create shared emotion, which strengthens identity quickly. When you play on a team, your feelings stop being only your own. A win brings collective joy that feels larger than a private success. A loss brings shared disappointment that can bond people through mutual meaning. This happens because a team gives the brain a clear we. Your efforts contribute to a group outcome, and the group outcome reflects back on you. That feedback can make identity feel sturdy, especially for young people searching for belonging. Team sports also create emotional lessons at high speed. You practice handling pressure, mistakes, and recovery, while others are watching. You learn to regulate anger so you can keep playing. You learn to stay focused after a bad call. You also learn trust, because you rely on someone else to cover a space you cannot cover alone. Fans experience a version of this too. Chanting, cheering, and wearing colors can turn strangers into allies for an evening. Shared emotion becomes social glue, and identity forms around it. Animals show emotion like states, even without human language. Watch a cat crouch low with wide eyes, or a horse relax into a slow blink, and you can sense a shift in state. Animals may not explain their feelings, yet their bodies broadcast patterns of arousal, comfort, caution, and curiosity. These patterns are built from nervous systems that must solve the same basic problems as ours. Stay safe. Find food. Stay connected. Recover when tired. Scientists often describe animal emotion as states because they show up in behavior, physiology, and learning. An animal in a fearful state avoids risk and startles easily. An animal in a relaxed state explores and eats with fewer interruptions. You can see these states change with context. A familiar caregiver enters, and the body loosens. A sudden noise appears, and the whole system tightens. Even without words, the emotional machinery still guides choices, and those choices shape life. Dogs can read human feelings using scent, posture, and voice. A dog does not need a speech to know you're upset. Dogs track micro-changes in your body, like how quickly you move, how your shoulders sit, and how your voice lands on certain tones. They also live in a world of scent that humans barely notice. Stress changes sweat chemistry, and dogs can detect those shifts with their astonishing noses. That means your emotion can be present to a dog before you admit it to yourself. Many dogs respond by staying close, pawing gently, or resting their head on you, and those behaviors can look like comfort. Dogs also learn your patterns through repetition. They notice what you do before you leave, and they notice how you look when you are playful. Over time, your dog becomes a reader of your habits. This sensitivity is part of why dogs fit so well into human life. They are tuned to us, and we often feel seen in return. Rats show empathy and will free trapped companions in studies. In laboratory experiments, rats have been observed working to release another rat from a restrainer. They learn the mechanism, and they repeat the behavior, even when it takes time and effort. This does not prove rats feel empathy exactly like humans do, yet it does show something important. Social motivation can be strong enough to drive helping behavior in a small mammal. Researchers have also noted that rats may share food in certain setups, which suggests that social reward and concern can compete with self-interest. These findings challenge the old idea that complex social feelings require a large primate brain. They also invite careful humility. If a rat can act to reduce another rat's distress, then the roots of caregiving may be deeper and older than we assume. It reframes kindness as a biological strategy that appears in more places than human culture alone. Elephants seem to grieve, lingering with bodies and family. Elephants have been reported to show unusual attention to dead companions. They may stand nearby for long periods, touch bones with their trunks, or return to a site again later. Observers have described quiet, slowed behavior in these moments, and groups may gather in ways that look different from ordinary travel. It is hard to measure grief directly in any species, yet these patterns suggest that loss matters to them. Elephants have long lives, strong social bonds, and excellent memory, which creates the conditions where absence can carry weight. When a familiar member is gone, the group structure changes. Protection, leadership, and companionship shift. That social disruption can be felt in behavior. Whether we call it grief or something adjacent, the evidence points to a deep social awareness. The world of an elephant is not only grass and water. It is family history, and when that history breaks, their behavior changes in a way that looks like mourning. Birds can play, and play is tightly linked to joy. Play is not limited to puppies and kittens. Many birds engage in playful behavior, including sliding on snow, tossing objects, and repeating actions that do not appear to serve an immediate survival purpose. Play often shows up when basic needs are met, which hints at its role as a sign of safety. When an animal can afford to play, the environment is not demanding full vigilance. Play also trains the brain. It builds motor skill, flexibility, and creativity. A young corvid might manipulate sticks and lids, learning how objects behave. That learning can later support problem-solving around food and tools. The emotional side matters too. Play tends to be self-rewarding, which encourages exploration. It pulls animals toward novelty, and novelty is where learning lives. When you watch a bird seem to improvise for fun, it challenges the idea that animals only act from grim necessity. Sometimes, they act from something that looks very much like delight. Octopuses show curiosity, exploring objects with remarkable persistence. An octopus can treat a new object like a mystery worth solving. It reaches with arms that can move independently, tasting and feeling at once, turning a simple item into a full-body investigation. This is striking because an octopus has a very different kind of nervous system from ours. Much of its neural control is distributed through its arms, which means exploration is not only planned in a central brain. Curiosity can unfold through touch itself. In studies and aquariums, octopuses have been seen opening jars, manipulating latches, and returning to puzzles they did not solve the first time. That persistence suggests more than reflex. It suggests a drive to learn. Curiosity also has a cost. Exploration can expose an animal to danger. When an octopus chooses to explore anyway, it is balancing risk and information. That balance is the heartbeat of intelligence. It shows that a mind can be curious in a form that looks alien, yet feels familiar. Some primates reconcile after fights, using grooming as repair. A conflict can break a social group, so many primates have ways to stitch it back together. After a fight, you may see former opponents approach carefully, then begin grooming. Grooming is not only hygiene. It is a social act that communicates tolerance, closeness, and a willingness to reset. The timing is meaningful. Reconciliation often happens soon after aggression, when tension is still present and the risk of renewed conflict is real. That is when repair matters most. Grooming can lower stress and restore predictability, and it can signal to bystanders that the dispute is over. In some species, higher status individuals may broker peace, and in others, close partners repair faster. These patterns suggest that relationships are treated like resources. If a partner is valuable, the group invests in repair rather than endless punishment. This is an emotional idea expressed through behavior. It shows that social life is not only competition. It includes forgiveness, negotiation, and the quiet work of rebuilding trust. Fear learning is ancient, shared across many species. Fear is one of the oldest teachers in nature. Many animals can learn to avoid a threat after a single frightening encounter. A loud sound paired with danger can create lasting caution. A location linked to a predator can become a place of avoidance. This kind of learning is fast because it saves lives. You do not get many chances to learn slowly around teeth and claws. The core mechanism is simple. Notice a cue. Experience harm or near harm. Store the association. Then react faster next time. What is fascinating is how widely this pattern appears, from mammals to birds and beyond. It suggests that emotional learning is not a luxury feature of complex brains. It is a survival feature shaped over deep time. This also helps explain why fear can feel stubborn in humans. Our brains carry an ancient bias toward remembering danger. The modern world is safer in many ways, yet the learning machinery is still tuned for fast caution. Understanding that can make fear feel less like failure and more like heritage. Social bonds reduce stress in animals, just as in humans. In many species, companionship changes the body. Animals with strong social ties often show lower stress responses during challenge, and they recover faster afterward. A bonded partner can act like a living safety signal. When a trusted companion is near, vigilance can drop. Feeding can be calmer. Rest can deepen. This shows up in primates that huddle, in wolves that coordinate, and in many herd animals that relax when the group is intact. Social living has costs, like competition and conflict, yet it also has benefits that reach into physiology. Protection is shared. Information is shared. Warmth is shared. Those practical gains translate into calmer internal states. The emotional implication is powerful. Stress is not only about what happens to you. It is also about whether you face it alone. When researchers observe stress buffering in animals, it suggests that the soothing effect of connection is not just cultural, it is biological. Your body was built expecting other bodies nearby, and many animals show the same expectation. Play fighting teaches control, and it shapes emotional restraint. When young animals wrestle, chase, and nip, they are not only burning energy, they are practicing the rules of force. Play fighting often includes self-handicapping, where the stronger animal holds back so the game can continue. That restraint is a lesson in emotional control. If you go too hard, the partner stops playing. The reward disappears. Over time, animals learn to read signals that say, "That was too much." They learn to pause, adjust, and rejoin. This is social training, disguised as chaos. It also builds confidence. A young animal learns what it can handle, and it learns that high arousal does not have to become real aggression. The body gets used to excitement while staying within boundaries. In social species, that skill matters for adult life, why conflicts must be managed without destroying relationships. Play fighting is a classroom where the cost of a mistake is a pause in the game, not exile from the group. It teaches restraint through joy, and it does it early. Your brain edits feelings in hindsight, based on the ending. Think about a long day that was mostly fine, then ended with a sharp comment. Later you might remember the whole day as heavy. Or imagine a difficult trip that finished with an unexpected kindness. The memory may glow more than it should. The brain does not store your emotional life like a full recording. It compresses. It makes a summary, and the ending has special weight in that summary. Endings feel like conclusions, so the mind uses them to decide what the experience meant. this can shape your future choices. You may avoid a place because the last time ended badly, even if most of the time there was peaceful. You may seek a habit because it ends with relief, even if it costs you earlier. Knowing this gives you leverage. If you can design a kinder ending, like a small moment of calm or connection, you can change the memory your brain keeps. The same memory can feel different each time you recall it. Memory is not a vault. It is more like a performance. Each time you recall an event, you rebuild it from pieces, and those pieces mix with your current mood and beliefs. That is why an old joke can feel sweet one year and painful another. The facts of the event may be similar, yet the emotional color changes. Recall can strengthen what you focus on, and it can blur what you ignore. If you keep retelling a moment as humiliation, the shame pathway gets practice. If you retell it as survival, the meaning shifts, and your body may soften. This is not lying to yourself. It is recognizing that memory is partly interpretation. Therapy and journaling often work by helping people retell with more accuracy and more compassion. A memory can stay true while its emotional grip changes. That is the hidden hope in recall. The past does not change, but your relationship to it can. Mixed feelings are normal because the brain tracks many goals. You can feel proud and scared at the same time. You can feel relieved and sad at the same time. That is not confusion. It is the brain doing multiple jobs at once. Your mind tracks different goals, like safety, belonging, achievement, and love. When a situation touches more than one goal, feelings can blend. A new job can bring excitement for growth and grief for what you are leaving. A child leaving home can bring joy for their independence and loneliness for the quiet house. Mixed feelings can be uncomfortable because the mind wants a single, clear direction. Yet, life often asks for both and. When you accept mixed emotions, you stop fighting yourself. You can honor what you gain without denying what you lose. You can move forward without pretending you are only happy. Mixed feelings are a sign that you care about more than one thing. That is not a problem. It is depth. You can feel calm and alert when threat is low and purpose is clear. Many people assume calm means sleepy or passive. There is another calm that feels bright. You are steady, yet awake. Your senses are open, not scanning for danger. This state often appears when you know what you are doing and why you are doing it. A surgeon in the operating room, a climber placing one careful hand, a parent soothing a child at night. The task is serious, yet the mind is focused rather than frantic. Purpose organizes attention, which reduces wasted mental noise. Low threat allows the body to stay regulated, so energy can be directed into skill instead of defense. You can build this state in small ways. Clear one priority. Remove one distraction. Take one slow breath before you start. Then begin. When your actions line up with meaning, the nervous system often follows. Calm alertness is not luck. It is alignment. It feels like being fully present without being pushed around by urgency. Kindness can lift mood because giving activates reward circuitry. A small act of kindness can create an unexpected lift, like warmth rising behind the ribs. This happens partly because helping is rewarding to the brain. When you give, especially in a way that feels sincere and chosen, reward systems can activate. You feel useful. You feel connected. You feel like your actions matter. Kindness can also pull you out of rumination. When you focus on another person's needs, your attention leaves the loop of your own worries for a while. That shift can be a relief Kindness does not require grand gestures. It can be a supportive text, a held door, or a patient moment with someone who is struggling. It works best when it is not self-erasing. Resentful giving is not nourishment. Freely chosen giving can be. Over time, regular kindness becomes a mood strategy that also improves the world around you. It is one of the few ways to help yourself while helping someone else, and it leaves less regret behind. Self-compassion lowers shame without lowering standards for growth. Many people fear self-compassion because they think it will make them lazy. In reality, harsh self-talk often increases shame, and shame rarely produces lasting change. When you treat yourself with compassion, you are not excusing harm. You are creating a safer inner climate for learning. Shame says, hide. Compassion says, look closely, then try again. That shift matters because growth requires honesty, and honesty is easier when you are not being attacked from inside. Self-compassion also helps you recover after mistakes. Instead of spiraling, you can make amends, adjust your plan, and keep moving. It is the difference between punishment and responsibility. Compassion can include firmness. It can say, that was not okay, and I will do better. It can also say, I am still worthy of care while I improve. Over time, this approach builds resilience. You become someone who can face your own flaws without collapsing. That is real strength, and it is quiet strength. It steadies you. Forgiveness can free attention when safety and boundaries are real. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as forgetting or pretending nothing happened. Real forgiveness is something else. It is releasing the constant mental grip of resentment when the situation is safe enough and when boundaries are in place. Sometimes forgiveness is offered after apology and repair. Sometimes it is offered without contact, simply to stop feeding the injury with constant replay. The key is that forgiveness should not require you to stay in harm's way. Safety comes first. Boundaries are not the opposite of forgiveness. They are often what makes it possible. When you forgive in a healthy way, your attention comes back to your life. You stop checking the past for proof. You stop rehearsing arguments that will never happen. That freed attention can become energy for goals, relationships, and rest. Forgiveness can also take time. It may arrive in layers, and it may change as you grow. You can forgive and still grieve. You can forgive and still choose distance. In that way, forgiveness becomes a form of reclaiming, not a surrender. Curiosity competes with fear, and it can reopen learning. Fear narrows your world. It points attention at what might go wrong, then urges you to freeze, flee, or fight. Curiosity widens the world again. It asks one small question, and that question can loosen the grip of alarm. Instead of, what if this hurts, the mind tries, what is this, really? That shift changes the body. Your eyes search instead of stare. Your breath steadies because you are gathering information, not bracing for impact. You can see this in everyday moments. A child approaches a strange insect with caution, then leans closer to learn its shape. Adults do it too when they face a hard conversation. If they stay curious about the other person's experience, they often stay calmer and more flexible. Curiosity does not erase risk. It gives you options. It turns threat into a puzzle, and puzzles invite skill. When curiosity shows up, learning is possible again. Anger often hides hurt, because vulnerability feels risky. Anger is loud and forward. It points outward, and it can feel safer than saying, that mattered to me. Underneath, there is often a softer feeling that is harder to show. hurt, disappointment, fear of being dismissed. When you reveal those feelings, you risk rejection, so the nervous system reaches for armor instead. The armor speaks in blame, sharp tone, and certainty. It tries to restore power quickly. Yet anger alone rarely tells the full story. If you listen for what is underneath, the landscape becomes clearer. You might realize you are angry because you felt ignored. You might realize you are angry because you felt embarrassed in front of others. That insight can change what you do next. Instead of attacking, you can name the impact. You can ask for repair. You can set a boundary without humiliation. Anger has useful energy, but the direction improves when you find the hurt it is guarding. Anxiety is future-focused, while sadness often looks backward. Anxiety lives ahead of you. It imagines what could happen, then prepares the body as if it is already arriving. Your mind runs scenarios, and your muscles brace for a future that might never come. Sadness often leans the other way. It looks at what has already been lost, what changed, and what cannot be returned. It slows the body, and it pulls attention inward toward meaning. These directions can feel very different in your chest. Anxiety is restless and sharp. Sadness is heavy and quiet. Knowing the difference can help you choose the right care. Anxiety often responds to grounding, planning, and reassurance through action. Sadness often responds to connection, rest, and permission to grieve. You do not need to judge either one. Each has a job. Anxiety tries to protect the future. Sadness tries to honor the past. When you know which direction you are facing, you can stop using the wrong tools. Contentment is not laziness. It is a signal of enough. Contentment can be misunderstood because it is not flashy. It does not shout. It settles. It is the feeling of having what you need right now and of not needing to chase in this moment. For a nervous system, that is meaningful information. It says the environment is safe enough to rest, digest, and restore. It also supports wise decisions. When you are content, you are less driven by desperation and more able to choose from values. This does not mean ambition disappears. It means ambition stops being fueled by emptiness. Contentment can show up after a good meal, after a task completed, or during a quiet evening where nothing needs fixing. Many people resist it because they fear losing momentum. Yet contentment can actually protect momentum. It prevents burnout, and it keeps reward circuits sensitive to real pleasures. If you never allow enough, the mind stays hungry and nothing satisfies. Contentment is not giving up. It is arriving briefly, then moving on with a steadier heart. Love can be quiet, built from reliability, not fireworks. Some love is dramatic and bright, but lasting love often sounds like ordinary life. It is the message answered. It is the promise kept. It is the steady presence that does not disappear when things get messy. Reliability builds safety, and safety allows the nervous system to soften. When you trust someone's consistency, your brain stops scanning for sudden abandonment. That frees attention for play, intimacy, and growth. Quiet love also shows up in tiny habits. Making coffee the way they like it. Remembering an important date without being asked. Listening without turning it into a competition. These moments are not viral, but they are powerful because they repeat. Over time, they become evidence. Fireworks can be thrilling, but they can also be unpredictable. Reliability is a different kind of romance. It says, "You can rest with me." It says, "I will still be here tomorrow." For many people, that is the deepest relief of all. Trust is a feeling, and it is also a prediction. Trust can feel like warmth and ease, but underneath it is a mental forecast. Your brain is estimating what someone will do next. Will they keep your secret? Will they show up when it matters? Will they respond with care when you are honest? That estimate is built from patterns. Each consistent action strengthens trust, and each betrayal weakens it. Trust is also context-specific. You might trust someone with your feelings, but not with your money. You might trust a friend to be kind, but not to arrive on time. The body participates too. When trust is high, your posture opens and your voice steadies. When trust is low, your system prepares for harm, even if you smile. This is why rebuilding trust is slow. The brain does not update from speeches. It updates from repeated evidence. When trust is repaired, it often comes back as a new version. It is wiser, more bounded, and more deliberate. In that way, trust is both emotion and expectation, written into the nervous system. Meaning turns suffering into endurance by changing how pain is framed. Pain asks a brutal question. Why am I going through this? Meaning offers an answer that helps you keep going. It does not erase suffering. It changes what the suffering points toward. A difficult training run can hurt, but it hurts for a goal. Caring for a sick loved one can exhaust you, but it is connected to love. Building a new life after loss can be lonely, but it carries purpose. When pain has meaning, the brain can tolerate it differently. It becomes part of a story rather than a senseless attack. Meaning can come from values, faith, community, or a promise you made to yourself. It can also come from growth, the sense that hardship is shaping you into someone stronger or kinder. This is not about forcing positivity. Some suffering is unfair, and it deserves anger and grief. Meaning is not denial. It is a way of holding pain without being shattered by it. It can be as simple as, I am still here, and I am choosing what matters. Your values shape feelings because they decide what counts as loss. A loss is not only an event. It is an event measured against what you care about. If you value fairness, betrayal will burn. If you value belonging, exclusion will sting. If you value competence, mistakes may feel like danger. Values act like invisible rulers that measure what happens, and feelings arise from those measurements. This is why two people can react differently to the same outcome. One person shrugs at criticism because reputation is not central to them. Another person feels crushed because respect is a core value. Values also shape joy. If you value learning, a new skill can feel like treasure. If you value family, a simple dinner together can feel deeply satisfying. Understanding your values can make your emotional life more intelligible. Instead of asking, why am I so sensitive, you can ask, what value is being touched? That question can guide action. You can protect what matters without being confused by the intensity. Your feelings are often your values speaking in the language of the body. Emotional intelligence is learnable because brains stay plastic for life. Emotional intelligence is not a fixed trait that you either have or lack. It is a set of skills, and skills can grow. You can learn to notice early signals in your body, like clenched jaw, racing thoughts, or a hollow tiredness. You can learn to name what you feel with more precision, which makes responses more accurate. You can learn to pause before reacting, even if the pause is only one breath. You can learn to listen for what another person is needing beneath their words. None of this requires becoming calm all the time. It requires becoming aware, then becoming intentional. The brain supports this learning through plasticity, which is the ability to rewire with practice. Each time you choose a better response, you strengthen that pathway. Over time, the better response becomes easier. Emotional intelligence also grows through feedback. Honest conversations, therapy, coaching, and reflective journaling can all speed the learning. It is not about being perfect. It is about being more skillful, more often. Feelings are information, and they become wisdom when you listen well. A feeling is a signal about something that matters. Fear can signal danger or uncertainty. Anger can signal a boundary. Sadness can signal loss. Joy can signal alignment and connection. The problem is that signals can be noisy. A feeling can be amplified by tiredness, stress, or old memories. Listening well means treating emotion as data, not as a command. You pause and ask, what is this pointing to, and what else is true? You check the evidence in the world, and you check the evidence in your body. Then you choose. Wisdom is not ignoring feelings. It is integrating them with values, context, and long-term goals. That integration can change your whole life. You stop being dragged by every wave, and you start using the waves for navigation. You can honor fear while still moving forward. You can honor anger while choosing respect. You can honor grief while still building a future. When you listen well, feelings become guides instead of storms. As we come to the end of our journey through feelings, notice what we have really been exploring. Not something vague or distant, but a living system that moves through your body and your mind, all day and all night. We wandered through the way emotions begin as physical signals, then become stories you can recognize. We traced how connection can soften stress, how language can sharpen self-understanding, and how attention can change what a moment becomes inside you. We touched the strange truth that memory is not a museum. It is a river, and each return reshapes the water. Feelings can spread through crowds, echo through music, and return in dreams. They can show up in animals, in childhood, in change, and in healing. They can protect you, push you, and sometimes mislead you when the body is tired or the world feels uncertain. Yet again and again, the theme is the same. Emotions are information. When you listen with care, they can become wisdom. If you enjoyed this Sleepy Science journey, you can support the channel by liking, subscribing, or sharing a thought in the comments. It helps more curious minds find a calm place to land. And if you are still awake, there should be another video waiting on your screen. You can let it play and drift into a new topic, like turning the page of a book you do not need to finish tonight. For now, let your shoulders sink a little lower. Let your jaw unclench. Feel the weight of the day sliding off, one small piece at a time. Allow your breathing to slow, unforced and steady. You do not need to solve anything. You only need to rest. Sleep well, and good night.